As far as I'm concerned, there are only two types of genius that matter, and thankfully, you can become one of these by choice.
And to be clear, I'm not talking about those with extremely high IQs, or better yet, those ruling the world with their Mensa membership cards. I'm talking about the kind of genius that affects change, disrupts established thinking, and can quite literally go down in history as the guy in any industry or field of knowledge.
What makes them so special? It's simple, really. They can see the connections and the whole when others can barely grasp the parts. But remember, there are two types of this genius.
The first type, we'll call him type 1, has a gift that seems innate. He can look at two objects seemingly worlds apart and he can see what connects them. Perhaps it's that one causes the other. Or maybe he sees that one is actually contingent on the other. Or better yet, he might just intuit that this one object is part of a larger whole that, with others, actually helps the whole thing to function properly. But here's what's truly fascinating. He can see all of these connections long before others can, even if all of the other pieces are missing. That's pretty cool. You have to understand that this is field or subject dependent, meaning that this genius tends to make connections in one field only. For example, we might look to the musical geniuses like Mozart, Chopin, or Beethoven. Their genius wasn't in a variety of things, but in one thing, music. That was their sandbox, and they dominated, seeing and creating things that weren't even on the table for most people.
Think also of Jigoro Kano, Gichon Funakoshi, or Morihei Ueshiba, the founders of Judo, modern karate, and Aikido, respectively. Each of these were exposed to a similar mash of samurai or Bushido training. They saw connections, a whole system of fighting, actually, that no one else saw.
In theology, we might look to Augustine of Hippo, Thomas Aquinas, or Luigi Giussani, who, looking upon the same deposit of faith that billions of others already had, well, they still saw something altogether whole and life-giving. And let's not forget Einstein, whose theories still influence the sciences today. You see, this first type of genius, who has the same data as everyone else, is already putting the whole theory together, and often in wonderfully useful and human-centered ways.
Now, as an aside, it's important that we realize that this type of genius, though accounting for only a small portion of the population, is hiding among us right now. Heck, my wife is a genius of this caliber. So take a look around and you'll begin to see them. Oh, and here's a hint for finding them. Look for people who have a knack for something. You might just be surprised by what you see.
So what? I'm not a genius of this type. So how does this help me? All right, calm down.
Now, if type 1 genius is not you, no worries, because type 2 genius definitely could be, and this one is a matter of choice.
What I love about type 2 geniuses is that they can literally begin as incompetent, but end up towering over others in the same or multiple fields.
Remember how type 1 geniuses could see the completed picture with very few connections? Well, what if we could do something similar? What if we chose to take such an interest in our field of study, our object, that we couldn't help but look at it from every conceivable and inconceivable angle? And what if, no matter what we're doing, whether we're checking the news, fixing the water pump, or shoveling the driveway, we still have our object in mind? Not to disengage from life, but to invite the object of our inquiry into it. What if I'm so intrigued by my subject that every day in some way I keep glancing back at it from wherever I am and with whatever I'm doing? What would happen then?
Well, you'd begin to see things that others hadn't even considered. You would quickly gain a mountain of insight not only on this object, but on others that you happen to engage in. Because when you do this, you find connections, and those connections tell you something about the other objects as well.
So think about Leonardo da Vinci. Was he a genius in just one field?
No way.
Michelangelo?
Yeah, right.
Isaac Newton?
What's wrong with you?
These guys and many others dominated multiple fields. Why? Because they got insanely interested in the object right in front of them. And you can do this too. If that's true, then why aren't there a plethora of type 2 geniuses around these days?
6 reasons. No silence. For deep thinking, the kind that allows you to see things that were previously unknown to you, well, that takes silence. And most people have pretty much banished silence from their lives. We did a video on that. Go check it out.
Despising the source. For insight, we need to grab it from wherever it comes. But most people refuse to listen long enough to be able to find that gem hidden in everything they're saying. Bernard Shaw, Northrop Frye, Goethe, Nietzsche. I don't have to like them in the least or agree with them in order to learn something from them. Distractions. One of the biggest problems for potential type 2 geniuses are all of the distractions in life. The phone, social media, all of those lovely television series. We bounce from one thing to the next without ever allowing ourselves to be drawn into those things that matter the most. Even those things that really interest and excite us. Lack of range. Sometimes we're so focused at becoming the best at something that we actually forget how type 2 geniuses are made. And they're made by getting your hands dirty in a wide variety of arenas and taking those lessons and those connections and all of those insights and applying them to your focal area. That's how it's done. Our obsession with objectivity. I know it seems like objectivity should be our most important aim when striving for knowledge, and I'm not going to argue against that. I just want to add that if we really want to become a genius, then we have to be willing to get so interested in the object of our study that in some ways we become the complete opposite. You have to want to see it not just from a cold and theoretical perspective, but from all sides, up close and, well, kind of like one in love.
Most people have no hobbies. What on earth do hobbies have to do with becoming a type 2 genius? Well, getting a hobby forces you to find out what you like and what interests you. Without a hobby, there's no chance of you seeing things differently and discovering new connections because you're not connected in the first place.
So can you become a genius if you're not one already? Absolutely. You just need to ask yourself one very important question. Are you ready? What am I really interested in?